Thanks for tuning in to the Replatform podcast, sponsored by Patchwork, hosted by me, James Gerd and Paul Rogers. We bring you industry highlights, interviews with the C-suite of tech companies, leading retail brands, to help you learn what's relevant to your business, help you make smarter business decisions. All we ask in return is you tell other people about the podcast, get us some new listeners. And if it's your first time, do give us a rating wherever you are watching or listening. It helps with our visibility. So let's set up our current episode. So this is a really interesting one. So we are actually chatting to our sponsor today, Patchworks, who are a leading bypass and integration specialist. They work with a huge range of merchants, helping them connect different technology systems to provide like efficient data flows. And therefore, a strong part of their business is this omnichannel piece. And we're talking about the omnichannel. And I know Dave, one of our guests, hates it, and he'll tell you probably why in a minute. But we're using omnichannel to talk about retailers who have a strong e-commerce and store presence. And the reason why omnichannel, not multi, is because the desire and need to put the customer at the center of that experience to make sure that the technology is connected and the data flows are connected, so you can deliver what everyone loves to call a seamless customer experience that's very cheap. So we're going to drive into some of the trends and some of the insights that the Patchworks team are seeing. So Dave and Conor, a warm welcome. Do you want to introduce yourselves to our listeners? Tell them though what your roles are, what you do at Patchworks.
Go on, Andy. Oh, cool. All right, we're too polite. So Dave Wileman. So I'm VP of Sales and Partnerships. Focusing on kind of go-to-market strategies and building out our partner ecosystem, which is kind of one of the leading drivers and focuses for us over the next kind of 12 to 24 months.
Conor, the CTO of Patchworks. So I'm responsible for the product, the platform, and the development of that. I've been Patchworks the last 3 years now, and been responsible for that in that tenure. So nice to meet you all.
Excellent. Yeah, really glad you could join us and looking forward to getting stuck into some of the details here. So let's start with the overall strategic picture, then we'll work into a bit more of the weeds. But what trends have you guys been seeing around omnichannel in 2023 and coming into 2024? So I guess what I'm talking about trends, I'm thinking about in terms of what capabilities are people focused on, trying to deliver, and what technologies are they trying to integrate?
I don't mind diving in here. So I think across the board, we're seeing kind of some of these legacy online retailers, right, now moving into in-store, which I think we've seen over the last couple of years. You know, we work with the likes of Gymshark and Lounge, who over the last kind of 12 to 24 months have opened up some of their first retail stores. And I think this is kind of meeting your customers where they want to meet you. I think the piece that's front of mind is omnichannel, right? To your point, James, I'm not a massive fan of the term. I think a lot of people are kind of using unified commerce. There's a number of ways to cut and slice it. But I think one of the challenges we're still seeing and where people are focusing is that kind of single customer view. I think people are still really trying to work on how they get ahead of that using new point of sale systems and the most up-to-date e-com systems, how you connect those data points and then feed it into your customer data platform. And then I think the big drivers we're seeing it kind of click and collect. The lockers seem to be kind of taking off. More and more people now with people wanting to collect it on their own terms. And then loyalty, right? Ensuring that your loyalty program is both in-store and online, which I think in the past has kind of been a real challenge for some brands.
Patchworks, the world's most modern integration platform. We can connect any key e-commerce system from storefronts to marketplaces and ERPs to fulfillment solutions. This allows retailers and partners alike to simplify their tech stack integration and do away with point-to-point vendor-specific apps. We can automate and streamline the flow of data across your entire e-commerce business. Find out more at wearepatchworks.com.
Great. I'll ask the next question. I assume, given how long you were at Shopify, Dave, the term unified commerce has probably been drilled into you. I know they love that term. So I guess I've personally seen Patchworks a lot more in the US over the last kind of 12, 18 months. And I know you're kind of growing outside of the UK and Europe as well. How do some of those trends differ outside of the UK? So some of those kind of newer markets for you guys.
I guess to your point, like UK has predominantly been our core market. And we are expanding we've got a good footprint in kind of APAC now with a number of Australian brands. We're moving more and more into that US market. I think one of the trends we're seeing is I've talked to some of our kind of longer term relationships with these UK brands. I think what we're seeing is as these brands move into new markets, they're realizing very quickly each market behaves very, very differently. Right? There's nuances to how people buy or purchase or what they expect, to the point where we've seen one of our retailers, as they've moved into Europe, predominantly Germany, they've seen a huge uplift in average order value, which is great, but they're seeing, I don't know, circa 70-80% of that then being returned. Right? People are buying lots, but then returning a huge amount of it, to the point now they're trying to use that. They've used that data to try and work out, okay, where's the hotspot? So Berlin, as an example, and then they're now opening up a retail store there to try and tackle that. Right? Often it, again, back to the omnichannel. Instead of this high order value and then loads of it being returned, opening a store so people can come in, try it on. I think everyone's seen the challenges of differences in EU sizing and how people want the fit. So they're actually doing that, and then offering in-store kind of consultations to help people get the right fit, with the aim following that people can buy online knowing the right size.
Yeah, I think we've definitely seen that trend over the last couple of years as well. And a lot of people talk about that challenge, particularly in apparel with the German market. One question, just as I think something that James and I have probably both had come up in different kind of discoveries and requirements gathering sessions, that a lot of people position is quite straightforward. It's actually very complex. I think you guys probably help with that. Just as you mentioned, the returns piece. Have you seen an increase in demand for exchanges and kind of, being able to introduce that at both an e-com platform and ERP level? Is that something you've seen people asking for or starting to talk about?
In terms of the demand to offer exchanges versus just refunds? Exactly that, yeah. So it's part of a return process or an RMA process, being able to there and then offer, sizing exchanges, or potentially even, I know some brands are offering incentives to take store credit instead of cash, that kind of stuff, or even just swap the product out. Yeah, so I think there is, from our part as Patchworks, where we come in that perspective is we're seeing an uplift in people buying the solutions to be able to offer that, for sure. Then we're kind of plugging in to make sure that the stock is there to ensure that, if someone is returning something or they want an exchange, that stock's updating in the right platforms across their ERP, their warehouse management, to be able to offer it back out. We're definitely seeing an uplift in it, but I guess it's they're coming to us through the provider versus directly.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's obviously a slight deviation, but I've personally seen lots of brands trying to achieve that, and then it ends up being constraints on the back office side that, result in it being pushed down the roadmap. But yeah, I just wanted to understand if that's something you'd seen. So the next question, I guess, going back to kind of omnichannel and people trying to do more with a single customer view and unifying different channels, which retail sectors are you seeing this in most? And also, I guess, maybe platform ecosystems as well, because obviously in Shopify world, it's maybe a little bit easier. You've got Oz, obviously online store, social channels, potentially wholesale, etc. But even outside of Shopify, where are you seeing this most in the industry at the moment?
Yeah, I can take that one. From where Patchworks primarily sits, and obviously we see it from the fashion end. So I would say, that would be, the sector that would be at the kind of forefront there. And, I guess they have to offer customers that, that seamless shopping experience nowadays, whether it be online or in store, we were talking about there, through all the social media platforms nowadays. So there's obviously a high level of competition there in the fashion area, with a lot of kind of fast changing trends in fashion. So, they have to have that strong presence, don't they? So to meet the customers' expectations and, for convenience, we talked about there, for, speed to market and changes and making it personalized as well. So, so I would say, yeah, that's probably the part that we see most of, and especially for where Patchwork's quite centered around the retail sector. So that would be around fashion.
So I'm gonna drill a bit more into the omnichannel, just to use that word to annoy you, Dave. I see maybe you on this episode. But so the other thing that we've been talking about is seeing a ramp up in a number of businesses who are like switching to SaaS POS solutions rather than using big legacy retail management. So a good example, like Lightspeed, in the Shopify world, obviously Shopify has its own POS. And I even know a big fashion merchant who one of the reasons for switching to Shopify was because they just wanted to simplify the POS in store, which I found fascinating because I hadn't expected a more enterprise business to go with a SaaS POS, given that it's not as enterprise in functionality. But what business challenges or resistance are you seeing with clients who are migrating to these more modern systems? I'd love to know, because you sit right in that integration space.
Yeah, and I've sat on kind of both sides as well. My first career was in that retail management solution and in the payments world. So yeah, I've been the guy selling this stuff at the same time that the kind of legacy platforms. I think the challenge with anything around this is when people are moving to a SaaS platform, they just need to remember that you're not potentially going to be able to replicate everything that you were doing, right? You're picking up a solution which maybe offers you more product or more offerings, but you're not going to be able to lift and shift your current incumbent way of working into the new world. But we're definitely seeing an uptick in these new providers, these SaaS solutions. We're offering connections between, like you say, like Lightspeed to Shopify, right? Because there's limitations and people want to stay on top of stock. But I think the biggest challenge is when you buy SaaS is utilizing all of the new offerings that you're potentially getting, but doing it in the right stages. I think if you buy something and straight away trying to roll out all those new features instantly, you can end up doing all of it really poorly, versus kind of taking more of a staged approach and picking one or two things. Let's do that well, and then add another thing on at a later date. Just be careful how much you bite off, I guess, is the advice.
So yeah, it'd be interesting if you could clarify a bit some of the areas that you typically see the merchants focus on, or that you would advise them to focus on, because you say like not trying to bite off more than you can chew. So what are the critical elements of this type of integration? Yeah,
I think. Well, Conor, do you want to take the integration piece around like how we're helping brands with that piece?
Yes. Well, in terms of the integrations, I mean that's really and the part of the whole point of Patchworks is to make it simplified and flexible. So, in terms of the integrations, you hear about an API first approach or composable commerce, and how do they do that? Using like some LivePass, where we obviously come in to that's the point of Patchworks. So we kind of see obviously that's becoming more and more common, largely due to that ease of use, that API first approach. So it's more cost effective as well. So it's a subscription based kind of SaaS based model, so it allows customers to I guess scale more effectively, pay for only what they're using. So yeah, it's all right, that speed to market, that ease of use, and that's exactly what Patchworks does. We are that glue in the middle that provide that ability to integrate to these systems.
Great. And I think over the last few years, I've definitely seen like lots of businesses move to the NetSuites of the world and the Dynamics 365s, etc. So more kind of SaaS based, or at least kind of more modern, slightly more modern ERP systems. But do you still get a lot of people kind of asking for integrations into the kind of black box retail systems, like kind of old school, kind of home, what's the word? Like more bespoke systems, I guess, that are around their business.
Yeah, so we definitely still are. Like I've only been here a short amount of time, so Conor can probably speak to historically. I don't think it's that often. I think with the whole composable landscape and best of breed offerings now, I think people are buying versus building, which I think is a better approach. The challenge there though, right, is it as you're buying more and more different offerings and adding to your tech stack, is this piece around connecting it all, right? And that's the challenge we're hopefully solving for these bigger brands. But yeah, at the same time, if someone has got a legacy system which they built over years and it's become so embedded into their business that they're unable to move away, we're still able to, as long as there's, and this is where Conor can kind of dip in, right? As long as there's the APIs there for us to connect to, we can do it, right? But I'd say more so now, our world is kind of helping people that new kind of complex tech stack where they've bought versus they're building it themselves.
Yeah, just to add to that, yeah, definitely it's more that now, but we still do a bit of EDI work or some type of legacy platform. And I guess that's one of the, they're on a journey, right? So they're going to be kind of evolving their tech stack as they go. So yes, sometimes, you can't get away from it right away. You've got to build into that legacy platform and kind of move slowly away to whatever tech you're looking for, best of breed. And then as Dave says, we're getting a lot of, either throw it away and try something new because they can do that with a platform like an iPass and plug and play. But yes, it's definitely not as much, but we do facilitate it for obviously either bigger brands or something that does have something that's so embedded, so they can't get away from that legacy system, and it's more of a stepping stone. So they use it as a kind of a journey over a couple of years.
Yeah, I think that's so important because I haven't worked with a few like larger enterprise businesses. Because a lot of those systems don't have APIs that you would rely on to get data out at scale reliably and repeatedly. So that's good. So apart from out of interest, apart from EDI, I know a few big businesses where EDI would be their number one choice, but what other file formats do you guys work with and do you come up against where people need something in a very custom way?
Yeah, we do like a lot of work with, with FTP as well. So that would be obviously a big one that is still widely used. We would do that quite a bit. A lot of even current customers will be using that, and that's kind of the whole point, as I say, of the platform where we can translate, and any iPaaS can translate the data, manipulate it into a form that's more standard or modern. With your JSON or even SOAP based, not very modern, but so it's all either FTP, EDI. That would be really it. We've done a lot around as well, if it's whitelisted and behind what firewall, whatever, we can work with that as well. So certificate based authentication, but it's mainly EDI or FTP, something like that.
That makes sense. And I guess like James and I have talked quite a lot over the last 2-3 years. We've somehow been running this podcast for about kind of changes in the replatforming landscape and maybe like a reduction in large CapEx budgets that have been signed off. But one of the new consistent things that I've seen brands invest in over the last few years, probably due to variables around tracking and, where you're able to get data from, is kind of BI and business reporting and some of the solutions in that space. I know that you guys have built a product around this, but I don't know how big a focus it is for you. But is this typically like a part of your projects? Like when people are looking at kind of doing integrations, are they, is BI coming up? Like how does it fit alongside what you guys are typically doing?
Yeah, it would come up, for a number of merchants, that do want to connect to some sort of BI tool. So we already have connectors to a wide range of things like, Snowflake or, I don't know, Google BigQuery, something like that they would want to use as part of a BI product or reporting tool. We with the way Patchworks works, and we sit in the middle, we siphon off that data, and that's why we're able to take their orders, their products, their stock, and all that information, and siphon that off into some form of Snowflake or anything they really wanted to then to put onto some type of presentational layer, And again, it's all about getting the data into that structured standard format so that they can use any presentation layer they want. Maybe it's Power BI. It could be anything really. We do see quite a bit of it, and that's what the platform can facilitate that.
And is that, I guess I was going to ask if that was a big, is that something you're looking to do more of? Because obviously the more, I guess, data points you're connecting with and the nature of data you're passing between systems, you're probably going to be a really good source for even like things like kind of returns and fulfillment data, and then obviously data coming from the front end as well. Like, is that a big part of what you're doing, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Dave.
I was going to say, yeah, I think we're definitely seeing with our larger enterprise clients, right, where VI is really front of mind because they want to make data-driven decisions, make sure they're spending money in the right areas or they're solving the right problems. 100%. Are they using us to pull all that data but push it into their own BI platform that they've built and it's embedded into their business already? These best of breed platforms from that perspective. So yeah, a lot of what we're doing with some of the larger clients is that piece.
And another question that's always of interest from people when looking at like technology and vendors and service providers is where you're headed strategically from a product roadmap point of view. So not overall business strategy, but the product strategy. Because as Paul said, you recently launched that new BI solution last year. Yeah, the no-code flow builder was added as well to help people self-serve better on them, to be relying on like bespoke integrations. So what can merchants expect from like the second half of this year onwards? Like where are you headed? Which parts of the product are you most focused in?
Yeah, this is where Conor will get very excited, right? So I'll let Conor trim in, right? We do publish our roadmap. So maybe we do one each, Conor, to keep it nice and short. Otherwise, we'll be here all day. I'm trying to. Yeah, Conor, if you take your favorite, then I can talk to kind of something else as well.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. How do you pick just one? So the platform, you always hear us on LinkedIn and how we advertise the platform. It's all around ease of use, speed to market, simplifying connections, integrations. Very partner focused as well. So what that's kind of driven is a roadmap around those things. So we recently launched a marketplace where you can download these pre-configured connectors and flows and packaged up integrations to really do that one-click app for that speed to use, that speed to market. So off the back of that, we've just done a private app store, which really plays in for the agencies, the partners, that they can build up their private apps, list them there, and they can build it around all their different companies. So what does that mean? You can do, maybe you've got a new store in a new country coming online. You need to get that up and running quite quickly, like all your other stores. So you could download these package connectors and flows and have that up and running quite quickly, very, very, very quickly. So that's something that we've built and just released actually today. And there's a lot more of that coming in the roadmap around that kind of ease of use and speed to market. So that's my bit. I have about 1 million other ones, but as Dave said, we'll be all here all day. We'll include the link to the roadmap and put that out with us, I guess, and that people can see what's coming for not just this year, but 2025 as well. So, yeah, the answers.
Yeah, well, you focused on the private app world, right? I think the app store for us with with the way we're working with some of our tech partners at the same time is kind of solving a lot of challenges where it is this, like the apps are, to Conor's point, are kind of pre-templated, the standard flows or transfers of information that we believe most people will need, and kind of packaging it up so that it is, a couple of clicks versus needing a lot of coding or development going into that. As we're building out that, it's just enabling partners to move faster, and it's solving the merchants' problems a lot quicker at the same time. So I think the App Store is a real strong play for us. And then at the same time, as Conor says, empowering our partners with the private apps is huge. Right, we want to make sure we're supporting them at the same time.
So last question. So within the kind of marketplace, which other kind of tech providers or vendors or kind of categories of vendors are you seeing demand from your customers? Demand from your customers?
Yeah, good question. I think without calling out any particular players, I think like if I grouped it into 3 buckets, I think point of sale, we're seeing a big demand to make sure that is connected well into, let's say, their ERP or into their e-commerce. And then the other 2 elements would be kind of the 3PLs and their WMS platforms. I guess they're kind of the 3 buckets we're seeing the most drive on. Conor, anything you'd add?
On that, just like you said, around a little bit about the ERP systems. So we'd see a lot of that, as well as warehouse management and whatnot, but it's around that complexity, right? So if we can package up the connectors and the flows into these apps to solve that problem of when you're working with ERP systems, it's usually a bit more complex, or a warehouse management system, things like that. So as you talk about these templates, so we do see a lot of that where they're coming to us for that kind of expertise in how to get these ERP systems connected up, because they're not easy to do, right? So yeah, just on that, I would say that's quite a bit as well. So yes, warehouse management systems, POS systems, etc., but also quite a lot of ERPs would be in that mix too.
Excellent. Always good to know what other people in the industry are seeing. So thanks for sharing, and thanks everyone for listening. Keep an ear open for your next episode. We drop one every Tuesday. Hope you found that interview interesting. And I guess, Dave, if anybody wants to probe further on any of the things that you guys have been talking about, whether it's the Omnichannel or these areas of capability that are kind of trending in terms of other interest, other merchants, how can they reach out and grill you guys further?
Yeah. Well, look, they can go to the website, wearepatchworks.com, or at the same time, right, feel free to reach out to me directly on LinkedIn, or drop me an email, dave.wileman@wearepatchworks.com. Happy to take a grilling, to James's point.
Excellent. Challenge is set, grill away. It's nearly barbecue season, so that's perfect timing. Excellent. Well, look, thanks, Dave and Conor, for joining us. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we'll catch up with you again next time. For more information on this topic, head over to replatform.fm for our audio podcasts. To discuss a project, or if you'd like to chat about any of the topics covered in this episode in more detail, please reach out to myself, James Gerd, or my co-host, Paul Rogers, via LinkedIn and Twitter. Thanks again for listening, and keep your ears peeled for the next episode.